Okay, so next up in our little stitch sampler is the diamond stitch. Used silver thread, silver metallic thread, I guess that is, for the one in this sampler, going with the tail, working on it with the tail to the right. So one thing about doing the diamond stitch, it's pretty easy. It's basically a simple stitch or basic stitch, and then you back stitch, and then a second row is simple stitch, back stitch, and you just match the diamonds up. So one of the most important things I think to say about this stitch is you want to make sure your spaces for your stitches are about the same width all the way through. And sometimes that's not that easy depending on what you're hooking up to. If you're starting with a wrapped coil, you can determine your stitches the way you want them, how far apart. So these were about, I think I did about a quarter. I usually do about a quarter. See, it was just under a quarter of an inch. I believe that on these, I am going to try, see, this is not quite a half inch, a little bit over a quarter. I just have to keep them uniform so that it looks right when you start creating the diamonds. So I've chosen this beautiful copper metallic thread to use. And you all know how to do a basic stitch, I'm sure, because that's how we started our basket or our coaster. So I'll just show you real quick how I attach them, trying to keep them uniform. I will be going slower because I don't want to mess up the thread. It's 2 arms length so that I don't have to keep replacing it. I don't want to tangle it, get knots, then you have to take it all apart. So I'll just start off and see how this looks. So I finished off my red in the back, just worked it down, and then I worked the copper from the bottom up to start at the ending point. Now sometimes these metallic threads can fray a little bit. So in this instance, this is the only place I have to hook up to. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll see how far apart they are. I'm just going to pick up like the first or second thread. Again, I'm going to pull slowly. And I'll just show you this first part and then you can work around. So see, this is a little bit, this is like a quarter of an inch, and this is a little bit larger. So we'll see how this works out. So then I'm going to try to keep them about this length, which is, yeah, it's a little bit larger. It's not quite a half. A little bit larger than a quarter, so in the middle. So I will go in the middle. I'm going to have to really gauge here because these are different lengths. It really is easier if you have a wrapped row or just regular stitches, but we are going to do it this way because this is just a learning tool here. So I'm going to eyeball it. I'm not really measuring. So these two look okay. This one's going to be a little bit closer together, but not a big deal. Okay, now to keep these somewhat uniform, I will pick up over here. Oops, I'm getting the needles. Keep knocking things over. could need to add needles too. But I will do that off camera. Don't tangle on me. No tangling allowed. I think I went through the other thread. But I will get it out of here, I think. I hope. This is a problem with having long thread. It goes every which way. A lot of times I'll stand up when my thread is really long and then it could just dangle to the ground. That came out pretty easy. So I think that's going to look okay. Let me find the end. I think that spacing is going to look okay. And I'll just show you. So then I will go straight through this basic stitch below. So I will continue around this coaster and try to keep my stitches uniform about here. There's not much I can do about it. But I'll try to keep them similar size and I'll add more needles. And I'll show you once I get all the way around with the basic stitch how we do the back stitch. That's going to be a pretty thread on there. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in a minute. Okay, so we are working on the bottom half of the diamond stitch. This row here with our tail to the left. So it consists of a basic stitch and a back stitch, basic stitch and a back stitch. And that creates the diamonds. So, but we are coiling with our tail to the left. So we're in the back, we're going to pull it up and over and come to the front. And I'm going to come in as close as I can get to this thread on the right. Sometimes I even pick up a few threads. And then I'm going to come out on the back to the left of that stitch. So it's kind of going diagonal across. And the reason I want to be on the other side of that stitch in the back is I want it to hold the stitch in place. So then we pull our thread through and we formed our X. Okay, now we'll do that again with the next stitch. So you're crossing over this stitch and you're coming to the next stitch. And I'm going to go as close as I can get on the right. So you could go right through the thread if you want. I don't do that, especially with this on this, because this thread frays. So I'm coming into the right of that, and then I want to come out as close as I can on that stitch on the left side on the back. So if you have a thread that's not going to fray, you can go ahead and go through the thread. Go at the same spot and go through the thread. Okay, there we've got two crosses. We're forming the bottom of our diamond. Back to front again. Up and over, and I'm going to come in at the right as close as I can get. You can go under the stitch if you want. I just want to make sure that the stitch is locked in. I want to make sure the stitch is locked in on this left side. See, because it won't be able to go past there then. And it's not going to be sliding around. Or you can go through the needles if you like doing it that way, but I wouldn't suggest it with metallic thread because it does fray a bit. So there's the third one. There's your third X. The top. So a lot of people like to finish off their baskets with this stitch, just this bottom half cross of the diamond stitch because it just gives it an extra layer of protection with the needles not falling out. Okay, so I'm snugging it up, but I'm not pulling too tight. So back to front, up and over. And I'm coming right in here by the right side. Whoa, that's a long stitch. It's gonna be open diamond. And then I'm gonna I'm coming in on the right side and I'm coming out on the left in the back. And you can hook it up with the other thread if you'd like, but I'm not in this basket. Pull it through. There's your little cross. So when we create the next row, we're going to go through the top of the cross. So back to front, crossing over. I'm coming into the right of this stitch at the bottom, coming out kind of crossways. I don't want to pick up those threads on the bottom, but now that I've moved them around, it's going to be hard. No, I don't really want to go through this thread. Pull it through. And I'm pulling it through slowly because I don't want it to tangle. There you go. And that's what it's looking like. Of course, if your stitches are closer together, the bottom of the diamond's going to be closer together. If your stitches are further apart, they're going to be a little bit bigger openings. But that is very pretty. It's a nice way to finish off your basket also. On this little sampler, we are going to finish our baskets or our little coasters off with just a straight wrap like that. So in class, when I taught this class, people did it different ways. Some they didn't care about the other stitches. They just wanted to practice this tie stitch. So they did the tie stitch all the way through, finished it off with a diamond, a half diamond, or a full diamond, and just left the edges like this. Back to front, up and over, crossing over, creating your diamond. I am going into the right, and I'm coming out on the left as close as I can get to the bottom of that thread to lock it in. Sometimes I do go through the thread, but not this time. I don't want to fray this, so I'm coming in at the right. This is another long one. Coming in right over there next to it. So you could go underneath if you wanted, but in this instance, I don't want to fray my beautiful thread. And see, that locks it in really good down. It's a nice clean V. Nice clean down here. The V's. So it'll give you a nice diamond stitch. One more time. Up and over. I'm coming into the right. Try not to pick up any needles and want to come out right near that next stitch. There you go. Nice and clean. So I will work my way. See, that's going to hold that thread there. I will work my way all the way around. So this we are coiling with the tail on the left. This we were coiling with our tail on the right. So when I went in and out, I came in on the left and out on the right because I was working the opposite way. But you can see that in a video. It depends on which way you feel more comfortable doing it. Okay, Bet, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so here we are with the first half or the bottom of the diamond stitch. Basic simple stitch forward, diamond stitch backward. This is what it's looking like on the edges. I had kind of a hard time because I kept picking up needles. This is what the edge looks like. X's. So again, that's a good way to finish off your basket for your last row or your coaster or whatever you're working on. So I've made it all the way around to the last stitch, and this might be obvious, and I know I've had other videos on transitioning, but I'll show you how I am doing it. So here was my last back stitch. I need to make one more because I don't want to leave this stitch down here hanging out by itself, and we need something to hook up to here. So there's my last stitch. I'm going to go in through the needles to secure that down, and I want to end up right here, right where I started everything. So I got to work my way up, try to get, sometimes it's a little difficult, but I want to be right up by that stitch right there, because I need to be up on the working row again. Okay, so I've made that cross. If you could see it, it's in there, it's kind of hidden. But this is our working row. We're working with the tail to the left. The bottom row is all done. Now we are going to work on the second row to create the actual diamonds. So if you continue creating the diamond stitch, you would have rows and rows of diamonds if you wanted to do that. So we've worked our way back up. We've finished the bottom of the diamond stitch. Now, normally I would go through the thread to really secure it, but this, now see, I poked some of the needles there. I was having a bit of trouble trying not to mess with the thread too much because this metallic thread frays. Oh, I missed here. Anyway, I was going way too fast. I'm not used to coiling this way, and so it's not going to look as clean as this one. So we're coiling with the tail to the left again. I have to keep reminding myself. Now we're creating the back, or we're creating the basic stitch again. So it's going to be basic stitch, back stitch, basic stitch, back stitch, and that's what creates the diamond stitch. So what we're going to do now that we have these X's, to create a more open diamond, it's a good idea to go right through here. You can certainly go crossways underneath these two threads, but in this instance, I am going to the top. And I think a lot of people do it this way if they like more open diamond. If you want more elongated diamonds, you can go across the threads. But in this instance, we're going to go across the top because we want a little bit more open diamonds. Again, we are just doing a basic stitch, and we are going through the top of the diamonds. Now, some people like to secure it by going through the top of the pine needles and the thread. We are just going to go through the thread. When I learned how to make baskets, 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, I was taught to never go through the pine needles unless you absolutely have to. So I've kind of been in that habit, and I understand that because it does nick them up. But in some instances, some items that I've worked on, some baskets, I go through the pine needles. And I find it works just fine. Okay, basic stitch. I do need to start adding needles, pine needles here. I'm going through the top of this X. Let's see if I could do it this way. You could see it better. Right through the top, picking up both threads. You're going under both threads. If I can get some light in there. Just like that. I'm not actually nicking the threads. I'm going right under the threads. But again, you can do it whatever way you want. You can pick up pine needles. I know a lot of people do it that way. So try it different ways. See what you like. This will help it to look a little more opened. A little wider. See, I'm coming right under that X. Okay, one more time. Under. Ouch, open that up. There we go. So I'm going to add more pine needles. And I'll go all the way around with the basic stitch. And then again, we will backstitch and we will have our little diamonds. I'll be right back. Okay, I've made it all the way around with the basic stitch. So we're working on the diamond stitch. And remember that we are going basic stitch, simple stitch, whatever you want to call it. And then we're back stitching. We've got the bottom part of the diamond. We're getting ready to back stitch again. Okay, and you probably remember how to do that. Pull it over the top. I am going in on the right side. I'm not picking up thread. You can, if you have a regular thread, it would be okay, but this frays very easily. So I'm just going in on the right side of that next stitch, coming out on the left side of at the back. I'm going to pull this slowly. There's our little crossover. And I'm going to go up and over again, do the same thing. So there's a lot of room between these stitches here because we went in at the top, and that's okay. So ordinarily I would go through the thread, but because I've got this, I'm not going through the needles, but because I've got this metallic thread and it frays pretty easily, I suppose I could go under there. Anyway, do it whichever way you like, but if you are using a metallic thread, you just have to know to be a little bit more careful. Okay. And since I'm on that opposite side of the stitch, it's going to hold it in place. Over. Cross and over again. Oh, this one. I went too far. Cross over. It's late. I'm not paying attention. And then go to the right side, or the left side of that stitch. So basically, you're just crossing over just like you did before. And I'm tangling because my thread's too long. Okay, there we go. You've got 3 of them. I hope you could see that. That's what it's looking like. Here's your diamonds. There's 1, 2, 3. I'll do one more over. I'm going to the right on the front and to the left on the back. So if you'd like to go underneath the thread there, you could. I'm going to continue the same way that I'm doing it. As long as that stitch is being held in there securely. There's 4. So you're going to have this cross. It'd be great to finish. If you can't get any further during class, you can use this as your ending. It holds everything together nicely. There's your last row. Here's the diamond stitches working their way out. If the stitches below are bigger, it's going to be wider. But there's your diamond stitch. So I'll work my way all the way around, and I'll show you what it looks like.